Welcome back to our study in the book of Colossians. In our last session, we finished chapter 3 and we're going on to chapter 4. And Paul is constantly building his message on the person of Jesus Christ and how we are to live out the life of Christ in everyday living. So we're going to pick up in chapter 4, verse 1. Masters, grant to your slaves justice, fairness, knowing that you too have a master in heaven. It's very interesting because Paul is reiterating pretty much what he said in the previous chapter. And again, he didn't write in chapter and verses, but he's echoing that to make the point. Whenever Paul hits on something more than once, we better take heed to it. He's very concerned that we treat people fairly. We treat people with justice because Jesus Christ did the same thing. And of course, God our Father is a just and a righteous judge. And so he is going to do it perfectly, even though we may not at times. We should strive to do things the right way, to be just in our decisions, especially towards others, and also to be fair. And when we say fair, we realize we live in an unfair world. But to bring as much balance into our relationships with those we work with those we live around. And he's specifically talking in the relationship here of slaves and masters, or employers and employees. And I'm not insinuating by that that they're both one and the same, but those are relationships between people where there is employment or work or expectations that we have to realize people can do very good jobs and other times they don't. And so we have to understand the reasons why that may not meet our expectations if we are a master or an employer. And also we have to understand what the expectations are of those who are in authority over our lives so that we can live a Christ-like reflection both ways, with being an employee, being an employer, being a master, and being one who is committed in some form of servanthood to that master. And he makes the reflection there that those in authority here on earth must remember there's a higher authority in heaven, and they'll be judged by the same standards. And these are the words of Christ too. Christ was very clear that if you're going to set a standard, you better be able to be judged by it too. And that's important that we understand that and we apply that in our lives as we move through our human experiences each day. We'll pick up there in our next session.